How's it going, guys? Topic for today's video, how to live mortgage free. So just over like the past couple of years, if you've watched my videos from the conception of this channel, you've seen that I've traveled around and I've done all that kind of great stuff. But now I'm kind of at a point where it's like, I really want to like settle down and, kind of like stake my roots somewhere. Like if I'm a big tree, I want to like stake my roots into one place and really have a place that I call home. And when I think of, buying a house, it just seems just so kind of like, not out of reach, but just it seems like a crazy huge commitment to make. You're buying this really big place. You're going to be paying it off for the next, at least 30 years to pay off the mortgage. By the time that you're finished paying off that mortgage, you're almost paid, say your house is, $300,000. You can almost pay up to $300,000 in interest just to pay off the house over that time. So you're ended up spending basically double the amount of money to buy that house that takes a considerable amount of energy to not only to build it in the first place, but also to heat it, to cool it, for all the water and stuff. It takes a lot of energy. And for me, that just seems it seems astronomical to me in a sense. So that's one reason why I've just become recently so interested over the last 3 or 4 months in tiny houses. So tiny houses is a way that I see that, people who don't want to go the conventional route can own their home, a fully functioning home. It can be moved around, to basically wherever you want it to be. Uses a very small amount of building materials just to build it because obviously it's so tiny. It uses a very small amount of energy, so in terms of electricity, in terms of heat, in terms of gas, and in terms of water, uses a very, very small amount. And it's something that you can also build yourself relatively easily, and you can do this without actually having to take out a mortgage on it. And you have a place where you can live. And to me, the idea of that just seems like, it just makes perfect sense to me. So a tiny house is a structure which is typically, not always, but typically a tiny house, because they're so small, they have to be built on a trailer, and that's to get around building codes, because there's certain building codes that dictate that you have, when you build a house, like a structure that you're going to be living in, it has to be a certain size. It has to be a minimum square footage. Sometimes maybe it's like 600 square feet or 500 square feet, but to build something that's the footprint of it is actually 140 square feet, and if you take into account the sleeping loft, it might be around 200 square feet of total living space. I mean, that's just not something that you can just go and build like on a plot of land in most places, because you do have to get permits for it. So when you build tiny, it's something that obviously is going to cost a lot less in terms of the initial cost, but it's something that is going to be much more. I think people can really kind of like get the idea of it and work towards it over time. Now, it might take some years of saving up money in order to put in maybe the $10,000 or the $20,000 in order to build your own tiny house. But it's an actual real way of, kind of stepping away from the system, going the unconventional route and not having a huge mortgage where maybe you're spending, $1,000 a month or $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 a month on your house. So for me, that just gives me a lot more kind of like freedom and flexibility. So I think these tiny houses is, if you want to live mortgage free and you want to own your own house and you want to, really kind of like settle down and, build your life around the community that you're in, like a tiny house is got to be one of the most practical ways of actually doing that. So there's so many resources here on YouTube. There's a great documentary called Tiny. There's lots and lots of books about tiny houses around the net. You can watch so many YouTube videos on tiny houses. It is ridiculous. It's how I spend a lot of my free time, watching videos on it and just, seeing how they're constructed and learning about people's stories about it. And it's absolutely a phenomenal way if you want to go that unconventional route. Awesome. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Peace out.